let's just pass the time. From amphetamine to weed, all it takes is a drive. It's alright, I got you this time. Let's just pick up something quick, I want out of my mind. And life's just a race against time. Try and make something pretty before I die. If I can make a dime off being honest, then I think I'll be fine. Stop stealing written on a little piece of paper. Cold turkey's what I thought. I said goodbye to my neighbor. I'm a little frantic, can't pull you no favors, but I'll smoke all of your weed and leave you with no papers. My car last week and walked out with a new scar. I got people looking out for me, I guess I set a new bar. I can remember the taste of your bottom lip. I know that sounds a little messed up and sick. Can't stop reliving all the things that we did. You probably hate me for being such a stupid spoiled kid. I've tried to move on, write some new songs, but nothing's ever as good as a past. Could be my last chance to enhance my way of life, remove your heart and my mask. But I'm still leaving, sometimes seeing graduation with the rest of our class. And how I sat there with your mother, wondering if young relationships last. Our first I just keep calling on the help of my peers, but their success makes me distressed. Things will be better when I disappear, bouncing from city to state. Nothing feels great, I'm a committed disgrace. If I could get up, hold my chin up, confidence is just a bluff for the weak. Might take a peek in my self-pity to realize it's selfishness for the meek. Just take these pills and makes it better, but withdrawals will make you seize up and tweak. You gotta buy it every month, we change the brand, it's more expensive this week. I'll hold my chin up, keep this grin up like my mother, she can worry like me. But if I had you, life is worth it, love is more than a contagious disease. I think of you, I think of me, a family, is this another pipe dream? But if these dreams mean anything, I'm gonna think whatever I want to think.
What up, guys? It is the 19th of November. It is Kyle and Ross coming to you live, the SchuBros, on a Thursday night. Hectic week, Kyle. Everything is going on in the world. But first and foremost, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing all right. Still alive, still kicking. Had a long day. Had to talk to Poland last night, so that was interesting to say the least.
Poland?
Yeah, some work stuff. We do things all over the world.
Yep.
Being an international company, we do things internationally. So yeah, I had to stay up last night till midnight, 1 a.m. To talk to some people over there, and had a little fun doing that. And then now I'm a little tired, a little dragging today. But that's partially due to the baby not wanting to sleep last night.
Yeah, that could have an effect on it. Well,
I just figured, I'm back again.
Yeah, I mean you're popping on and off here. We as per normal for us when we try to use Skype with any kind of things. Well, guys, we got a special for y'all tonight. It's a friend of ours that Kyle and I have known for years and years and years. I played Little League Baseball with him. I've kicked him in the nuts a few times. He's kicked me in the nuts a few times.
We can't see him, but we can hear him.
How do I get my video on here?
You click the camera button.
You might be from
here we go. Okay.
So we promise you
It says video isn't.
Okay, well
video isn't supported on your browser.
We may not have video then. Okay, well we'll have audio. He's better to hear than see, like all of us. So,
hey Rob,
unless I need to be on a different browser, I don't know.
It might be that you need to be on the native app. I don't know.
Do you not have Skype?
No. Well, no.
Well, I can download it real quick.
All right. Well, anyway, so guys, here we go. We got a friend of ours. I mean, it's we got to sing an Eminem song at the moment. I need a doctor. So we got doctor. We got to address him correctly, Kyle. Dr. Eric Clemons.
I was shocked to see that Dr. Clemons thing, because I'm friends with you on Facebook, and I don't think I've ever seen you brag about the fact that you're a doctor.
I mean, it just is what it is.
If I was a doctor, I'd be bragging.
I mean,
yeah, well,
And I have a feeling that the guy across from me in the Army shirt, if and when he ever gets his doctorate, is going to be an asshole about it.
Oh, I full intention that once I get it,
doctor's human to you.
Yeah, better be doctor. I told you I'm changing my last name to Love.
Dr. Love.
They call me Dr. Love. They call him Dr. Love. Kiss, dude. Kiss song. God, you are disappointing on many levels many times.
I get the reference. I'm just like, why? There's a difference.
Just so I can sing this song.
You're Duma Hazel is what you are.
Kyle, if we want to get into reasons that people do stupid shit, this is not a competition you win, sir.
I mean, still.
All right. So the reason we have Dr. Eric on tonight, ladies, I'm sorry you can't see him. He's a sight to behold. Eric, I don't even know. Are you?
I don't think it's Dr. Eric. I think it's Dr. Clemons.
You kick him in the nads. You kick him in the nuts
mean,
enough times. You say get a first name basis.
I don't know. People always. My name's Eric. My mama named me Eric, so that's how I go by still. So
Okay.
You kick each other in the nuts enough times. You call each other on a first name basis. You know. I dropped him in Miss Hilbert.
So how have y'all been?
Oh,
man?
we're good, man.
How's
It's
Hey, we over here living life. I'm over here in Bryan College Station.
okay?
Ross is out there in Midland. Where are you at nowadays?
Well, I'm back and forth between Lee County and actually Midland. So a little bit about my backstory is when I went to undergrad after we graduated. I went to undergrad at Prairie View for 4 years, Prairie View A&M, and then went to vet school at A&M for 4 years there. And,
Now, Eric, I'm gonna ask you a question, and just for reference, because nobody can see him. Eric is African American, but Eric is as country comes.
yeah.
Eric, how much of a sore thumb did you stick out like at Prairie View A&M?
Man, so it was. I don't know. It's. I have a mixed feeling about that. So, I mean, historically, Prairie View A&M is an agriculture and mechanical school, and I think over the past few years, the agriculture portion of it has. It's just not what
Prevalent.
you think it would be exactly prevalent, and architecture and engineering and things like that have kind of taken a bigger notion there, but it was a little different for me. So it was like a reverse culture shock, maybe. I don't know if that makes sense, but I mean, y'all know me coming from Lee County. I mean, being in all the agriculture stuff, 4-H and FFA and things like that. I mean, I was on state council in 4-H, and it was. You didn't see a lot of African Americans, one, in the program, even on the local level, but certainly you didn't see a lot of it, in district and state level. So I was always, around, Caucasian people. I mean, I just grew up around, and I grew up around black people too, but it was just, it was a little different for me at Prairie View, and I kind of got in that niche of people that came from some of the same backgrounds as I did, but still looked like me. So, I mean, I created a bond and a friendship with a lot of those people, and then still have very close connection with them today. And, there are other African Americans out there like us. I mean, it's not necessarily a rare thing, but it's something that's not common.
I've got two young men that ride their horses through my neighborhood every single day, trail riding back and forth because they're exercising their horses. So, I mean, it's not uncommon. I just wouldn't say it's necessarily.
It's not. It's not what you think about, right? Because it's not what we see. It's not what we hear about. It's what we see on TV. What the media portrays is more of a stereotype than what in reality exists. And the reason, we wanted to have you on, Eric, is because your family has a great story. Your mom and dad are hardworking people. They put everything into their kids to make you guys better. Your mom being an English teacher, and your dad, I think, was a rancher, right?
Yeah, and he was in the oil field and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, I've got, and I've been blessed and fortunate to be raised by the people I was raised by, to have that type of backing. Even along with that, my siblings, my brother and sister, I mean, they helped me out a bunch growing up and kind of helped develop me towards that. And, they were some of the forerunners in like those things we talked about as far as the 4-H and FFA and things like that in our county, not having people of color in those positions. I mean, they were some of the first ones. So that went a long way for me and helped me with my success to where I'm at today.
Yeah, I remember your brother. He was, I love your brother, by the way. Your brother is hilarious. you know, he's a big dude, but he's a fun guy. He's a fun-loving dude. He just always was he was always chipper. He was always nice. He never had a sore shit. He never seemed to be upset at anything. But you know, I remember you guys. He was always working with you when you were showing steers, and you know he would help. You know, he'd help with like us. We showed pigs, so he would always help us a little bit with the pig showing side of it, just giving us tips, pointers, and things like that. But you know,
Wait, you're not supposed to shoot him with a paintball gun?
no, it's not top of the list.
I hate
but I mean, I guess for me, you know, you and I, you know, you and us, we have a common bond coming from the same small town, and yet we didn't let that be the limiting factor. You know, people from our hometown quite often don't leave our hometown. That's usually as far as they get. You know, there's
exactly.
Eric technically hasn't. You know, he still lives there.
He lives in Lincoln.
So I'll tell you. You know, okay. So when I graduated A&M and went on to work, you know, got out and started working. I actually went out to Odessa for about a year and a half. A good friend of mine in vet school, his dad owned a practice out there, and became really good friends with him. And you know, he helped me kind of get started being a vet. I mean, Darden Hervey helped a bunch too. I mean, I give him a lot of credit. I mean, I worked under him for a long time, and he came back to work for him. But, you know, I never would have thought when I graduated that I would leave that area and go to Midland, Odessa, and for two, I was actually doing strictly pretty much small animal, and I came into it's like, oh, I'm going to do large animal, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, you know, and I went out there and did small animal, and it's like, people are like, well, I thought you were tracking mixed, and I thought you were gonna, you know, be a cow vet and do this and do that. And for me, I mean, I'm glad I did it because I learned a lot, and it got me out of this area for a while just to go out and to start and to see something different. And a lot of people thought that didn't really make sense that he's doing that, but I look back on it, it's like the best thing I ever did because I learned so much at the time. I stayed out there for about 15 months, and then I came back and worked for Dr. Hervey in Dime Box, and I did mixed animal. I did, you know, cows, horses, cats, and dogs. Then I left, and again, I guess I stayed there about 2 years, and then went back to Odessa, but I was just strictly doing emergency work. And once again, it was one of those deals where it's like, man, like, why are you leaving, you know? Well, for one, the money was really good, and that was hard to pass up, but that's why you're out there. I don't know. You know, we know what West Texas is like. It sucks you in. Ask the Lehman twins.
Hey, right down the street from me, buddy. So that's actually a fun. I don't know if I told you that story. I was on a location.
I heard about it
for the company I work for, and I walked in the office and I saw the phone number on the wall. I was like,
979.
I know who that is. It turns out we are direct competition to each other with two of the biggest players in the field. I won't say who I work for on air. I refuse to say who I work for.
Okay.
But
he'd done it one time and got in a lot of trouble.
I didn't get in any trouble, but I went back and deleted it. But we are direct competition to each other. And it's funny that, you know.
Was it Casey or was it Casey?
Carrie. It's Carrie.
Oh, it's Carrie.
Yeah, it's Carrie.
Oh, it's Carrie. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So it's like I called him. I was like, and I have a new phone number, so I called him. I was like, hey, you mother, you know, I was playing it off. I was acting like I was somebody else, and he was getting mad, man. He was like, oh,
but you know, even with him, like both of them, like I asked him, I said, like, would you ever come back to Lee County? And they're like, Kerry for sure. I don't think he's ever gonna come back here. But Casey's, you know, he's contemplated it. But like, they're fine out there. They're fine that they left home and started something else and are doing something different.
Well, and
you know, and not having to be here. Now, for me, yes, I've come and gone back and forth. But I mean, right now I'm in a situation where I work 1 week in Midland, in 3 weeks I'm off, and then that off time I'm doing mobile stuff around Lee County, Bastrop County, Fayette County, Burleson, Washington. I mean, everywhere. I go all over.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm
Sounds
trying
like
to get a mobile deal.
Well, that's. I mean, I'll be honest. I'm at the point in my life where I'll be fair. The way I left Lee County wasn't great, right? I had some people there that were making life kind of miserable for me, and in my family, stuff that I didn't want to be a part of. And that kind of, led to me looking outside of Lee County. And then I got this opportunity out here, and the kind of money I can make here. And I'm not saying I'm going to stay here by any means. I mean, that don't mean I'll stay here. It just, the chances of going back there are slim. Even, we come back because we have family. We come back to see them, and we come back to be in the area. But, it's kind of got to the point where getting a job there is probably not going to be anything in our future anytime soon that we're looking towards, even though we've got people wanting us to. But no, I mean, it's great opportunities. But I mean, that's kind of what I want to talk about with you, man. Because like I said, you come from that same small town where I like to tell people, out here, hey man, you can either go to jail, work at a jail, or work in oil field. That's kind of your three options where we're from. And there's not a whole lot of in between, There's some farm and ranch, but that's getting more sparse. And, guys are kind of more doing that for hobby than anything else than really big setups.
Yeah, there's no money in it. Trust me, I know.
Well,
it's fun. It's in our blood, but it's hard to I do a lot of, we still raise cattle, and we do some hay, and me and Darren do some hay work and stuff. And it's if you put pen to paper, it's like you probably wouldn't want to be doing this,
Yeah.
But it's in our blood,
Well,
I absolutely love it. Well, yeah, that too.
There's one guy doing that, and even that's somewhat subjective. Kyler Murray getting dragged down from behind. So it just is. It's interesting to see because we hear the narrative coming out of all these people that especially African American, especially black people. There's so little opportunity for them, and there's no chance they can make anything. And there's not these opportunities. But I can remember playing Little League baseball with you. I can remember playing football with you at Giddings High School. I can't remember a time that I ever heard you complain about having to do work. I can remember coming in and watching you working out in the gym. I can remember, you going to practice and practice. I as far as I know, the Dime Box Expos had one black kid. You.
Yeah.
We weren't.
Wait a minute. Wasn't Kermit Dawson?
You know what? You're right. He was. He was on the
I
team.
was about to say. I remember there being two.
But it's not. It wasn't like you were in the overwhelming majority there, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't remember hearing you complain or bitch and moan or say that life was stacked against you. And I remember when you were in high school, you were a better student than me just because I was lazy. And and the
hey, remember where we sat at Miss Simmons' class?
Yeah.
In the back left. Actually, I think that was the last time I saw you, like, ever.
Well, if you had your
ago.
video on, you could see him now.
He can see me.
You can probably.
I
He
can
can probably
see
see
him now.
you, but we can't
I
see
can see
you.
him now.
Yeah, that lady hated me. To be fair.
Well, she was pretty strict, but
Well,
she-
I wasn't super nice to some of her preferred students. Let's put it that way. So she didn't like me, but I remember going to school, and I mean, you were a good student, but also you kind of had to be because your mama wasn't never but a stone throw away to come whoop your ass if she needed to.
Well, I was pretty. I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna say sheltered, but I mean, I just didn't. I was a shy kid, even coming up, and just
I
was just real.
Being one of the better behaved people.
Well,
in
yeah,
the county.
and I just never really acted.
Maybe I just didn't hear the stories of some of the bullshit you pulled, but
His mama wasn't
Yeah,
ever more than a stone throws away to come whoop his ass if she needed to again. Yeah,
So-
and
But no, I mean, I had a good upbringing. I mean, I'm blessed to have had that for sure. And getting back to what you said, Ross, as far as are there opportunities for African Americans out there, or we at a disadvantage? And I mean, honestly, yeah, I've been discriminated against. I mean, but it's not something that I've said, man, I'm just gonna let this get me down, or this is gonna define me or whatever. Because I'll tell you, man, like I've been in those situations, and I just kind of go through it. And I've had situations, and that's the thing. I'll tell you one thing. When a first impression that you make on somebody goes farther than anything, and it doesn't matter what color you are. I really truly believe that, because in my field and in the veterinary profession, I've had people, kind of look at me different, like, man, like, he's a vet. Does he know what the hell he's doing? He's not like any other vet I've ever seen before. But
Well, to be fair, I say that to every single vet that I talk to, especially when they won't clip dew claws or knock tails. I'm just like, are you sure you're a vet? Because that's basic bullshit, I mean, come on.
well, it just when you have clientele that, like, you just make that first impression, like, hey, this guy, for one, he kind of seems like he knows what the hell he's talking about. But two, he's compassionate. He seems like he cares about the pet and about what's going on with it. Those are two of the big things. And honestly, as a vet, I mean, people think, we know everything and we have every cure and medication. I mean, I've had people ask me if they got something that, they can I can give them for Corona. And I'm like, no, what? Don't.
Come on now.
But
I do for your cow.
But, it's just
Ivermectin.
Well, that, no, we're not gonna go there, but I've heard that from people. It was circulating out there. But no, you just have to show people that, hey, man, you have to be personable. And what I like about where I'm at now, like, so I work, like I said, I do some work in Midland at an EC, but I don't have that connection like I do with the clients that I have down here. And when you build that connection, those people don't care what color you are. They don't care what you're about or what you believe in or whatever. They just see that, hey, this is a pretty good person and I can deal with them, So for me, that goes a long way. And I think that if there's anything out there that people say, well, I can't do this because I'm this way or that way, that's not necessarily true. People say all the time, you hear all this motivational stuff like, oh, you just got to work hard and you got to do this and do that. And that's true. It's not bullshit. Like, it's true. Like, you just got to work hard and be a good person and you can get somewhere in life. Because if you're lazy and you're a shitty person, well,
yeah, work ethic goes a long way, right? I mean, I had this conversation with a guy the other day online, and he was, he was telling me, well, I made $20 an hour when I was 16, and I shouldn't have had to have a job when I was 16. And it's like, you were making $20 an hour at 16?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Jesus,
yeah.
I would have begged for that job. I was hoping to get $550. Yeah. Like,
yeah.
I mean, Eric, you know good and well, I left every summer and went to North Dakota for a job.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I know it.
It's just one of those things that boggles my mind that these people are acting like they're so mistreated that they had a job making $20 an hour at 16. And those jobs didn't exist where we lived for kids. Like you said, hauling hay, working pastures, working cows. Those were the things that were there. Those are the things that existed for kids our age.
Flipping burgers, frying fries, stuff like that.
I was out working on the
groceries.
I was out working on the Whitty Ranch with Brett. Me and him worked out there. We were painting T-posts and running out of fuel everywhere we went because he'd only buy 5 gallons of damn gas at a time. But we were making $8 an hour or something like that working the ranch, but we worked our butts off. And, working for mom and dad, doing things they needed to, but that didn't pay. That was just, hey, you live here. You get fed.
That was your due diligence.
Yeah, you get fed.
Yeah.
And Dad, I know you're listening. You owe me money, Jack.
I got a question for Eric, and I was just it's kind of a joke. In your office, do you have a Labrador Retriever and a cat?
No, why?
You never heard the old joke about the woman bringing the duck into the vet's office?
I don't think so.
Oh, God.
All right, I'm going to lay one on you then.
Oh, God.
So this old lady brings her duck to
First
the
episode on Twitch. We're
vet's
about
office.
to get kicked off.
This is clean.
Oh, sure.
This is super. So the old lady brings her duck into the vet's office, and it's lifeless. And she goes, "Is there anything you can do for him, Doc?" And he looks at the duck and picks the duck's neck up and drops it, and it just bloop. He goes, "All right, it's dead." She goes, "Well, come on, there's got to be something you can do." She goes, "All right." So he walks out, and the lab runs in there and sniffs on it, shakes his head, and runs back out. And he comes back in. He goes, "All right, well." The cat walks in and sniffs it and walks back out. He goes, "All right, well, that'll be $500." And she goes, $500 to tell me my duck's dead? She's like, "Yeah, well, you made me do a lab test and a CAT scan, and
I
$500."
might have heard something like
Oh,
that.
that's a good one. I was waiting.
I told you.
I mean,
I told you.
Kyle, first of all, you're not funny as a rite of passage. Our dad's not funny. You inherited that from him. So
He's pretty funny.
Thank you,
you
Eric.
talking about my dad? You talking about our dad, or you talking about Kyle?
Yeah.
Dad?
No, you're dead. I was over there the other day. Actually, I got to go over there tomorrow, and I've been working on some stuff for him.
Hey,
so
I know
Yeah,
he
why
pays
the
you.
weather down?
I know you're trying to keep a client, but you don't have to lie, okay? He's not funny. There's only one funny thing he said in his entire life, and it was about Kyle's ex-wife.
Oh.
And
he said something the other day. I can't remember what it was, but it was pretty clever.
it was so funny. It was so funny because I was so not used to my dad ever being funny that when he said that, it hit me. I physically fell to the ground. It was so funny laughing. So, Kyle, can I tell the joke? Because you know the joke, and it's
I'm okay with
okay.
it.
So Kyle's ex-wife was not what you would consider a little lady. All right, she was sassy. Sassy, big gal. So one point in time we were talking about it and we said, he's getting married, whatever. And my dad looked at me and goes, that's his plow to pull, but he might need some more horsepower.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the one where after we got divorced that I had lost 200 and something pounds. I was like,
No,
what?
no,
He
this
goes,
was
"Yeah."
this was before the
Oh,
wedding because
man.
Okay.
she had a reputation about her, and Dad looked at me and goes, that's his plow to pull, but he might need to get some more horsepower, and I was just like, holy
Oh.
shit, that's the funniest thing you've single-handedly ever said, and it was hilarious. And I laughed my ass off at that joke. And it was the only time, Dad, you have ever said something funny in your entire life. But I'll give you that one because it was funny. Now, mind you, Eric, at the same time, a good comedian doesn't get a new joke every time he goes to a different city. He just tells the same joke to a new crowd. Dad has been telling the same
Dad has
joke
perfected that. Yeah.
Dad is telling the same jokes for the last 30 years. You're just a new crowd at the moment.
Yeah, he's got the same basic jokes that he tells to every group of hunters. And if he ever gets repeat clients, he's screwed.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're out there just going, he sets it up. He sets up the punchline, and Kyle and I are just sitting there going, Jesus. This is the seventh time this week I've heard this joke.
Here she comes, a walking, talking.
So, Eric, again, so you went from Dime Box, Texas, which I like to say the population is 35 if you count the cows. You'd call that about accurate?
I don't know. I've never really known. So, Dimebox never had a population sign that I've ever seen.
Nope.
So, have y'all ever seen one?
No.
If
We've stolen the sign a few times.
If you
but we
left,
didn't see the
10% is
sign,
gone.
Well,
like I said, we've stolen the sign a few times, but we've never
Yeah.
seen a population sign on
So
it.
I haven't ever. I'd say what it's maybe.
I did
200 or
it too.
300. Oh, did y'all do that?
I took it about 5 or 6 times. Kyle tried to get me in a lot of trouble in Lincoln taking one.
Which one?
Dime Box,
The Dime Box
Giddings,
sign.
141.
141, 290.
21.
Oh gosh.
I had the old Dime Box sign in my dorm room in college until the Corps got mad at me because it didn't have the little sticker on it saying
That it was legal.
to have.
When they put up the
Ain't nobody
when
missing
they
it.
put up the new reflective speed limit signs, they didn't take down the old metal ones. I thought I was doing a public service.
Yeah.
because it was just 65 mile an hour with a 65 mile an hour sign right behind it. I mean, I didn't take down the new ones. I took down the old ones. Just doing a public service. But I had that little Dodge Dakota, you remember, and it had that dent in the front. Yeah. That front bumper was dented in. So if a cop ever showed up, I just told him, "Oh, I ran off the road and hit the sign."
Oh, I don't know. Is that better?
Well, at least you're not in trouble for stealing a sign.
That's true.
But I mean, what we would do is me and a big, tall, hairy dude with a French last name would just pull up, drive over it with the truck, put it in the back of the truck, pole and all, take it to the house. Are you talking about KL? Yeah. Our dad's got a dog kennel built out of old poles off of street signs.
Really?
He just took the poles and repurposed them eventually. They kept accumulating. So, I mean, I guess, the reason I wanted to have you on is because I do want that story of, hey, you know what? You faced adversity. Of course you have. Everybody's faced adversity, right? You had to overcome things in your life. You growing up in a small town being one of them, being one of the only black guys in that small town and, not being a person that everybody looked like you or having a lot of people that look like you around you. But yet you took that adversity, you overcame it.
I think he'd actually been more in the majority had he been in Dimebox than he would have been in Giddings. Dimebox was actually pretty well diverse. I mean, we only had 22 people, but we had like 5 black guys, 2 black
It
girls,
makes the percentage. It makes the percentage really great.
I would agree.
But I mean, but at the same time, I mean, again, you took that adversity, you overcame it, and now, I mean, you're a veterinarian. You went to great universities. You went to an HBCU. In Prairie View. You went to then Texas A&M, which is the vet school in Texas, at least. And
I mean, it's one of the premier vet schools in the nation. I'd say
I'm not going to give it any credit.
Top three.
Yeah, probably 3 or 4 or 5, somewhere around there.
So I mean, you definitely, you had every opportunity to go sit in a hole and sulk, right? But yet you didn't.
I mean, but like, why? Like, for what reason? Why would you do that? Is the question at hand? Because, I mean,
it's pretty easy to ask for other people's money.
The opportunities are out there. You just got to. That's the thing, man. Is there's so much out there that people don't know about that can help them get to the next level. And I don't know if it's the fact of they don't look for it, or they don't care to look for it, or they're too lazy to look for it, or they just don't put the time in. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be, fixed to this one area. You don't have to be fixed to this one thing in your life to think, okay, this is all I'm ever gonna be able to do. This is it. It's not true, because I'll be honest. When I left Dimebox after I had come back from Odessa and went out and worked, went back to Odessa, man, that right there, I mean, was a life-changing moment for me. And financially, yes, that was one of the biggest parts of it. But I never would have thought I would have left again, to go back out there. Mm-hmm. And I did, and it was one of the best things I ever did. But now I'm in a situation where it's like, I'm ready to make that move to get back to this area, because I'm only out there 1 week a month, and the other 3 weeks I'm here. Well, all of that stuff that I've been doing around here over the last 6 months to a year or whatever has been word of mouth, and I stay busy every single day. The business is there, and the biggest reason I haven't really advertised is just because of the fact that I'm not entirely set up yet. Now I'm gonna do mobile. I'm getting a box from a truck and looking at getting a mobile trailer. That's in the mix right now. I hadn't told a lot of people that, but that's in the mix of getting a mobile trailer set up to where I can do my small animal out of, and then I can put it in the paper and say, hey, this is, these are my services. I'm here, 24 hours a day or whatever. Call me whenever. But every single day, I'm probably doing 3 or 4 or 5 things a day, and on top top of doing other stuff, personal stuff for myself. So I have the community is great. The business is great. Getting to, and that's the thing. Like, I see myself being in this area for probably the rest of my life, just getting this established. But to be able to have that relationship with the community is a big part of that.
Yeah.
Just like with your dad. I mean, he called me a while back about doing some stuff for him, and I was like, yeah, and he's and to have that connection, he can call me whenever, text me whenever if he needs this or needs that.
Oh, I'd be
I help
careful
him in
saying
any way I can.
Yeah,
I'd be careful.
don't say that
I'd
out
be
loud.
Real careful saying that.
What's that?
And he can call or text whenever.
Text whenever.
Oh,
Real careful saying that.
No. So, but it's good. Like,
I'm surprised you haven't got it a hunt yet.
Oh, hey, I went on one back 2 years ago. I guess we went. I took some guys from Midland came up. They were deer hunting down here, and I said, "Well, I want to go on a quail and chucker hunt." And they're like, "Yeah," and we had a really good time. Funny story about that. I'll have to tell y'all later.
I was gonna say, if you're gonna tell us the same stories he tells us, we're good. If you're gonna repeat one of his jokes from what he told you on a hunt, we promise you we heard it.
So we were, your dad knows I hadn't bird hunted a lot, but he knows I'm decently smart around the gun, right? Like I have common sense around a gun. But these other guys, he doesn't know, and a lot of his clients, you got some more novice people that.
It's always a crapshoot on
the closest I ever got to being shot was a kid who was a competitive shotgun shooter, who was overconfident in his abilities.
I guess what I'm saying, you got different skill levels of people, but we came out there, and these guys, like, they're from like Kermit and Wink out that way.
Okay.
So, they hunt quite a bit, and your dad's kind of going over all the rules and stuff, and what to do and what not to do, and when you get out there and get to hunting, and like dogs flushing birds, and like they're just like slamming them, like just knocking everything down, and like your dad kind of looked at me, he's like, "Dude, these guys can shoot," and like by the end of it, like it wasn't like stand this far apart and watch where you're swinging out to shoot. It was like your dad's like, "There's birds," and he's like, "It's like, well, you're in the way." He's like, "I'll get down." He's just shoot over the top of me.
So they used to make fun of me because I would baseball slide into the brush to flush the birds, and everybody was, "Why the fuck do you do that?" And it's like, because I'm on the ground. It's one of the things I told a guy, because he was laughing his ass off one day, because it was in a muddy puddle, and I baseball slid in there, and I got up covered in mud. I didn't care. He's like, "Why the fuck do you do that?" And I said, "Because if you shoot me down there, you meant to do it. I could prove that you meant to do it, and you're going to jail. If you shoot me standing up, you got an excuse. You can claim whatever. You shoot me laying down there, you meant to shoot me laying down there." But the closest I ever gotten shot to getting shot doing that job was one by a lieutenant colonel in the Army, and one by a kid who was a competitive shotgun shooter. The guy in the Army come up right behind me, basically put the end of the barrel of his gun on my shoulder to shoot. He rang my ear.
I've had that happen to me.
He rang my ear so bad. I do that to you all the time. He rang my ear so bad that it pulled the air out of my ear. I fell to the ground. I lost my balance. The other time is I went to flush a bird, and I baseball slid. And I kind of looked up, and I could see the bird was flying right away from me real low. And I turned around, and I was staring into this kid's barrel. And so all I could do was I just fell over as quick as I could. I just fell to the ground because I could tell he was tracking the bird. He didn't see me. And I could feel the rush of the wind go past me. And I remember this because my cousin had brought him out. And she thought he had shot me. She thought that's why I fell. It was so bang, bang. And she runs over.
God.
They killed him! Oh, God! And I got up, and I was fine, and I spiked the kid.
So close.
I spiked the kid. I picked him up, and
like WWE style,
picked him up
like
by his neck, grabbed him, and just boom. And he got up bitching and moaning, and his dad just looked at him and goes, yeah, you kind of deserve that one. It was one of those, like, I looked at his dad like, well, you might be mad. His dad just looked at him like, yeah, I can't really argue with him for that.
Oh man.
But
I actually did catch a BB in my shin. Dad's gotten a direct shot, but not a direct shot, but a direct hit, but via a ricochet.
Oh.
yeah.
So mine was pretty interesting because years later I went and got an X-ray done, and there's a little like spot on the X-ray, and they're like, "Well, we're not sure what this is," and it's like my mind immediately went to it was cancer,
Well, Kyle,
and then
the lead,
find out it was just a BB.
you're just using lead
Like,
poisoning as an excuse at this point.
it wasn't no lead poisoning. You got to be liquid to be lead poisoning. Come on, everybody knows that.
So, I mean, Eric, back. So, I mean, your mom and dad, right? I mean, they're hardworking people, right? They didn't.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know that that your family was ever super wealthy off. There were people in our county who there's a certain group of families that are rather wealthy. From oil and gas money.
They live around a golf course or something?
They might own a golf course. They might have a suite there at the Aggie Stadium. They might have a helicopter with some swag. Some things of those natures.
Their name on a basketball court?
Yeah, lots of things. So,
or basketball practice.
offered to build a 90,000 seat capacity stadium in Dime Box right across from the gas station if A&M and UT would play there for 20 years straight. Things of that nature. But
But
that was
but your family, our family, wasn't really that way off. But I know that your dad and your mom worked hard, and they dedicated their lives to their kids, making sure you and your brother and sister had a good education, that you guys were brought up in a good manner, that you were respectful, you had a good work ethic, that you put yourself in good positions, that you went to school and you did what you're supposed to do. And what would you, if you were to talk, if you were to be a mentor to, let's say, some kid coming up today, what kind of advice would you give to them about, and I'm talking about, let's talk, maybe an inner city kid, black kid who thinks, who's being told the world is stacked against him, that he's not going to, he sees the news, he's 15, 16, he sees the news, and all he sees is these people telling him, you can't make it. It's already determined you won't make it, right? That you're screwed. What would you say? What would be your advice?
I think the biggest thing is surrounding yourself with those type of people that are gonna put you in that position. Because man, if you put yourself around people that just negative or that don't have that drive, you're gonna be the same crab in the bucket. Same crab in the bucket. And when you are with and around people that are doing good and great things, you have no other choice but to be successful. I think that's the biggest thing is finding those people, finding the ones that you can depend on, that, hey, this is somebody that one is wants to help me and that can help me if I need the help, if I call on, because when you're in those situations where you've got
Ross
people
and I both heard
that-
the same thing at the same time.
What's that?
Heard that murr in the background.
Oh yeah, I'm outside in the shed and cows are bellowing over there. I didn't know y'all could hear that.
Yeah, very, very well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we know what it is.
Yeah. It's funny. Yeah, I always laugh because you could always tell a city person because they'd come over and they'd be like, the cow goes moo, and it's like, the cow don't go moo, the cow goes murr.
Yeah, I think I had some heifers over there that I had weaned the other day, so they're kind of bellowing. But
You can also tell when it's a city girl because she gets real offended when you say heifer around her. She's like, "This all means you ain't had a kid yet. Shit, come on."
But no.
Hey Ross, are you laughing? I thought I wasn't funny.
It's a disappointed laugh. It's
a laugh.
It's a laugh of disappointment. Like when you said that Milwaukee was.
It's still a
When you
laugh.
said that Milwaukee was in Minnesota.
Still alive. It counts.
Oh God.
Oh,
Eric, if
man.
you ever want to hear,
But no,
if you ever want to hear a good story, I'll tell you one day about Kyle's Jaguar.
Yeah, it was funny.
Jaguar.
Yeah.
I bought a car off a guy off Craigslist, and it lasted for about 3 months, maybe. It
If
it
you
wasn't a
count the
wise
amount of
investment.
time that I was dragging it around on a trailer, yes, it lasted 3 months.
I hear they got big problems and they're expensive
Yes.
to work on.
Well, here's the best part. So I get it home. He calls me on Christmas Eve to come pick his ass up because it broke down. So I drive up to Brian, mind you, in the cold, and then sit there for like 3 hours because he went to a poker game and refused to come and help me load the damn car up. So he finally shows up. We load the car up. I take it home. The next day, I get it to the house. I open it up and I said, "Hey, Dad, look, it's got one of them slant six engines. Jaguar's known for having a slant six engine, gravity fed injection system." Genius here looks at me and goes, "What do you think a mechanic could fix that?" And I'm just, it's one of those when
I
you
didn't know anything about
when
that.
you,
I'm not a car person. Shit, you know. It's not my
you
thing.
buy the car, you don't even know if the fucking engine's in it.
I don't know a lot
If I
about
push the
cars.
button,
I
it
buy them all the
starts.
time. You know, how many people know about cars when they go to the dealership and buy one?
If you
Maybe 10%.
then he goes, then he
Maybe.
tries to claim that he's gonna lemon law a used car.
I don't remember ever
You
saying
most-
that.
It's hard to do.
It's
I tried it one time on a truck I bought, and I wrote a letter and everything, and I'm sure those people just laughed at me. So
he had
Yeah.
a receipt on a napkin that was signed that
You're
stated
making shit
as
up
is.
now.
I'm not.
You making
Not
shit
at all.
up now.
Well, anyway, so back to Eric. I'm sorry we interrupted you. So put
No, you're
yourself around good people. People, you know, and I agree with you there, right? If you put yourself around, because there's the nature of competition, right? That when you have people around you that are better, then you want to make yourself better because you don't want to look like an ass. You don't want to look like an idiot in front of people who are doing great. You don't want to, you don't want to be the one behind. And then also it's going to make you, me and the big tall French guy, the big hairy French dude, we were in math class together, and that was the thing is we were at war. We're best friends in the world, but we're at war with each other to see who can get a better grade. And it was pushing us to get better every time we would take a test. And things like that, just that nature of that friendly competition can really help you out. And if you have somebody who starts telling you that,
I honestly think that's probably the key thing. And if you look at, you say, for example, inner city kids that don't have those opportunities, they don't have a lot of them. I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them don't have that support system. Like I had coming up in the situation I was in, coming from a rural area that, had strong family, hardworking values. Mm-hmm. So now, granted, you can put, somebody in a position where, okay, you put everything together for them. It's like, hey, this is the best we can do for you. Here it is, all out on the table. But you still got those people that just ain't worth the shit, regardless of what they have, the opportunities they have in life. You still have those people.
Now, do you think
you and Kyle know those people? I mean, they're out there. We know people like that.
Related. We're related to some of them.
I'd say it's 50-50. If you have a strong support system that's positive and progressive, and you yourself have the will and determination, put it together, and I think you can do whatever the hell you want to. But you gotta have both of those things,
Yeah.
And the other ones are what you'd call socialists?
Well, yeah,
Well, and that's the thing is, and I think like you said, it's been about 13 years since you and I have really seen each other. I don't think we ever had a political conversation, but I'd imagine just from your upbringing that I could predict where you are mostly, politically.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Politically, I guess I sit and I watch in the shadows. I don't.
That's That's racist.
You know, profess. I don't profess a lot of my political beliefs. Like, you know, I'm not saying anything about talking about politics, but I just there's some some values that I see honestly from both sides that I feel this way on this subject, and I feel that way on another
Yeah.
subject. You know what I
Well,
mean?
and that's
And the way,
I think that's where most Americans would honestly be, because like I consider myself a constitutionalist. I'm not a Republican. You may have heard I ran for Congress out here as a Republican.
I know I heard about
But
that. That's pretty cool. I can imagine
got
the
got
and more power to you
got
because
smoked,
that's like
but I ran.
I can, well I just couldn't imagine
He didn't get off the starting line, but
I got off the starting
he
line.
ran.
But
that's cool to put you. Hey, that's cool to do it. I mean, I can barely let alone get my taxes done. I can imagine getting some stuff together to be a congressman.
Well, luckily I didn't have to worry about getting anything to actually be a congressman. I didn't got to worry about that. But no, it was an interesting. But it's one of those things where I would go sit down with people, and one of the points that I had for and against me is that on my logo, on my political logo that I had made, I didn't have the word Republican put in it. And that rubbed some people off because they're like, well, you're not a Republican. I put constitutional conservative. And they would ask me, well, why are you not a Republican? Why are you a constitutional conservative? And it's like, well, because there are things that the Republican Party says that I don't agree with. And I might disagree with them for various reasons, and I might partially agree with them, but I'm not fully into that. So I am not a Republican. Now, I tend to vote for the Republican candidate more times than not, but I'm not going to consider myself a Republican. I'm going to consider myself a constitutional conservative, which means there are things socially that I'm more liberal on. Like, we talk about police reform on this show. I'm pro police reform. I'm not one of these people that says, "Oh, back the blue," and all costs matter.
Yeah.
There are legitimate reforms we can do to the police departments to make them better. That should be something we're not against as Americans. We should want that product to be as good of a product as it can be. But it goes back to the same thing. When it's funny because then people on the left will be like, "Oh yeah," and then I'll go, "School reform, school choice," and they'll be like, "Wait." And I'm like, because I get on and say, "Hey, end all police unions." Yeah, that's good. End all teachers unions. What? No. It's like it's the exact same principle on both sides.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you that because you were a guy who benefited, as Kyle alluded to earlier. You and I both did not go to the school in the district that we lived in. We both, and you did so legally. I not quite as much.
How did you pull that off?
We live with grandma.
Oh, okay. I mean, people do
live
that.
with grandma in Lincoln. Yeah. We had some clothes there, and that's about the extent of that. Now I will say that made me get better grades because my report card got mailed to her, and she whipped my ass one time for getting a couple B's. So it did make me work a little harder in school. And she liked to use a fly swatter with no plastic. That was her preferred whipping media.
That's just a piece of wire.
That's just a piece of Yeah, you can imagine how good that feels against the leg. Yeah, not terribly great.
Man.
But the point here is that, we both had the opportunity to go to a different school than the school that we should have gone to. And that probably gave us more opportunities than we would have had at that other school. I mean, the two of us.
you got to play football.
Let's just make the comparison here. Two of us went to that school. One of us didn't. Now, two of us have advanced degrees, and one of us has no degree. So we'll just leave it at that. I mean, school choice, just in this sample size, works.
I don't know. I mean, if I would have went to Dime Box, would it have made a difference? I don't know. I look at it as
I got into the four-year university. I just didn't fit. There's a difference.
There's a lot of stuff that I look at and I say, man, what if I went here instead of going there? Like there was multiple times where I was like, hey, so like before I went to Prairie View, I had applied to A&M and I didn't get in right off the bat. I got in through the Blend team program or whatever. So I was going to go to Blend, and then I ended up getting in Prairie View, and hell, it was good because I mean I had pretty much a full academic scholarship to Prairie View. So that was like one thing. I was like, well, I'm kind of glad that I went there instead of going here. And then even with vet school, I didn't get into A&M vet school right off the bat. Now the first year I applied, I did get in, but I was what's called the alternate list. I had applied to Tuskegee in Alabama, and I was pretty much a shoe in there, and I was gonna go to school there, and that would have drastically changed where I'm at today. I don't know if, not saying it would have been in a bad way or a good way. I don't know. I just don't know. But where I'm at right now, I wouldn't be here right now.
Your jaw be a little bit thicker, and you would have met your sister.
So
I don't know about that.
So I guess the question I wanted to ask is because you are the son of a public school teacher.
Yep.
So, we've heard the argument come across for more school choice, and the argument I've made, the policy I wrote, and I've submitted this to several congressmen that we are working towards getting it on the floor of the Congress in the state of Texas House, is that school districts would no longer be allowed to prevent you from enrolling based on your zip code. That basically, if your mom decided that, let's say your mom wasn't a public school teacher, let's say your mom, just worked somewhere and, she wanted you to go to school over there, and maybe it was close to work or whatever, but it was a better school, and she's willing to drive you, she's willing to drop you off, she's not going to, ask for the bus or nothing, but that there's no limit to you being able to enroll in that school. And this is a mirror of the Massachusetts school system, which they're number one in the country. Their test scores are number one in the country. They have intra-district school choice, where you can go to any public school in the state if you want to, without limitation. And I'm asking for the state of Texas to do that same thing. And I wanted to get your opinion on that, being, that you grew up with, a mom who's a public school teacher.
Yeah. So I guess my thought is, or question is, how would that change the, I don't know, per se.
If you bring up football.
No. Doesn't have anything to do with that. But I guess my term would be is maybe infrastructure of those school systems. So if you say, okay, I got, okay, we got Giddings, Lexington, Dimebox.
Yeah.
And, everybody from Lexington wants to put their kids in school in Giddings. How are they going to be able to handle that when you go from,
So the schools do have a maximum enrollment allowment, right? So
okay,
these schools it would say, okay, we have this capacity that we can take, but anything, as long as we have capacity, we cannot deny a student, in its first come first served basis. Whoever enrolls first gets to come in.
So first come. Okay, so it's not like one of those deals where it's like, hey, Daddy went to A&M, and I want to go to A&M, and if the money's right, let me slide it in there to where if you can get in A&M.
If your dad puts his name on a stadium, it might help your enrollment chances.
I ain't saying nothing about that.
That's a client. That's probably a client right there for you.
Would there be an issue where it's gonna be something that
so for me, what it would be is the schools would have to fill from within their districts first, right? And then if they still had enrollment available, then anybody could apply. So it'd be kind of like getting on a wait list, right? If you lived in a district that you wanted your kids to go to a different school, you would go pick which schools you were willing to send a kid to, and you would put them on a list for that school, and then those schools would then figure out, who has open enrollment, and then where you are on the list puts you to where you can then enroll in one of those other schools eventually. And so what's going to happen here is that, for me, because I don't know if I'm working on a doctorate in economics. So for me, what it is, it comes down to basic economics. If it's supply v demand, but if I take a school that has this many students, right, and they're not doing so well, and I reduce the number of students, well, that means that each student now has more access to that teacher, because those students that are left now have smaller class sizes and now have more resources available per student. which means that they're likely to get a better education. Because a lot of times what we hear, the big argument we hear, is that not enough student to teacher ratio. Yeah, too many students, not enough teacher. So if we take kids away from that school, that's going to improve their student to teacher ratio. That's going to improve the amount of money because the money still comes to the school based on the tax brackets in their district. So that means the same amount of money that was coming to that school is coming to that school. Now it's just being spent on less kids. So more money per kid can be spent on those kids. Whereas a school district that has more resources or a higher taxable base is going to have those resources already. So it allows those smaller schools like Dimebox or Lexington to shed some kids off to a bigger school that can absorb them. That it's, one extra kid in Giddings is not going to hurt as much as one extra kid in Dimebox.
I got you.
And then,
so what do you think about Dimebox's 4-day a week deal?
I honestly, I'll tell you, man. What I know about Dimebox right now is there's a dude who does some quail hunting there. And a lady married to him, and then his mom. And that's about all I know of Dimebox at this present moment.
Okay. Because they're on like a different. They're off on Monday. Like they can choose to go on Mondays, I think. And
now, is that a COVID restriction, or is that something they were doing before COVID?
No. This was all before that.
So I've heard of some schools doing, instead of doing 5 6s, doing 4 8s. To make up the time and then give the kids an extra day on the weekend, especially when they have, teachers that don't live in the town who don't want to commute as often. Because, that was like in Giddings, a lot of our teachers didn't live in Giddings. They came from Bastrop or Brenham or whatever, and I'm sure if they could have not driven in one day, they would have preferred that because that would have saved them gas money. That was a major expense for them, was just getting there, and if they could have... That expense is fixed to the number of times you make that trip, not the total number of hours you work. So you make the trip less times, you save money.
No, I agree.
But, I mean, for me, it's about, I've had guys make the argument, well, what do you do about high school football? I don't care about high school football. I honestly don't. Academics to me beat athletics, right? Okay, I care about high school football. I like high school football. I'm Texan. I grew up with it. But at the same time, I'm more worried about the kids getting a good education because that's more likely to lead to them having a better life than to some kid getting a full ride scholarship for football, which is highly unlikely.
Well, and I think an issue that you may see with that particular plan is more geared toward athletics and not academics.
Well,
there's already instances of recruiting at the high school levels. So
I mean, Odessa
if it's purely academics,
Odessa Permian's pretty good at it, man. You're good at football. Your daddy will get a job in the Odessa Permian area, making good money to do jack shit. We had, so my son is playing Little League football, and on the 11 and under team, so the kids that are going to be going to high school here in the next couple of years, the high school coaches are coming and watching those games. They're seeing the kids that are going to be coming into middle school, going into high school. They're coming and watching them play.
But the athleticism of kids nowadays has evolved so rapidly. Like I look at some of these kids in basketball and stuff like that. Like you play little dribblers, didn't you?
No.
You did?
Short, white kids were not much of a basketball team.
Well, I just think about I look at these, and I guess with all sports it's true, but like basketball, look at these kids now at basketball, they're I remember when I was, coming up, man, you're cool if you can kind of dribble between your legs and kind of around your back. Like now these kids are they look like freaking LeBron James out there. And they're
to be fair, you and I are talking pre-YouTube, where it was just, we were just watching, we were watching the San Antonio Spurs on a Friday night on Channel 54, and that was about as much basketball we got to see outside of the high school level at our local schools.
Yeah, so it's crazy. I see that, quite often that these kids nowadays are, I don't know, they just seem like they're a whole lot more athletic than what we used to be.
I mean, that was on Friday nights in Dimebox. During the fall, that's what you did, is you went and watched the high school basketball game because they didn't have a football team. We'd go to the Longhorns stadium there in Dimebox and watch a high school basketball game, and it was like that was something to do on a Friday night.
It was a
Oh, yeah.
gym. Thank you very much. A gym.
So sorry. Watching one of the, what were they? Windahorse, Reuben Horse? What was their last name?
Reuben Horn?
Yeah, one of them big boys back somebody down in the paint. Watch Kyle sit on the bench and take stats.
I was good at that.
He bought new shoes to never get on the court.
Got my letter jacket for it, so that's all.
I mean, you could not get your letter jacket. They only had a varsity team. I was like at Lincoln. There was a moment I got upset at something at Lincoln. I quit the basketball team, and it was everybody freaked out because they didn't have enough kids to play basketball anymore. They're like, "Oh shit, you got to come back, otherwise we can't field a team." I was like, "Ha! Yeah, I win now, suckers." So I mean, it's. I guess Eric, like I said, a large portion of why we wanted to have you on the show. Plus, we like you and you're friends with us. Is that we hear this narrative and we see it all the time of, hey, if you're black in America, you can't make it. It's stacked against you. There's no chance, and your opportunities are football, basketball, or rapping. And I don't think I've heard you rap ever in my life. I can't imagine. I think you're probably closer to a country star than you would be to anything else.
Oh, man, I'm pretty diverse in my music here lately.
I'm not saying you don't listen to diverse music. I'm saying you can't rap.
You never know, man. Back in the day, I was at Prairie View, man. That buddy, we recorded a little mixtape on his computer on his laptop.
Was you part of them 290 boys?
No. No, this is something different, man. But it was a funny deal we did, and I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, man, I need to call him and see if he's still got that CD.
I want to hear this so much.
Was it country rap? Was it rap?
I would make it. I would make it the intro music to our show if you get me a copy of it.
We were just freestyling on some beats. Yeah, some screwed and chopped stuff.
I gotta.
You chopped and screwed?
Chopped and screwed and chopped. It's all the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Do you give your phone number in the intro to the song?
What is it?
Mike Jones?
281-330-8004.
Hit Mike Jones on the low. Oh, he gave his real phone number. It was so great.
Oh, man.
No, I need to hear that. That needs. I will make that the intro.
No, I'll have to ask somebody and see if he's.
That will be the intro music to the show if I get a copy of that. Yeah, Eric Clemons untapped. So we'll put that. Yeah. We could call him Dr. C. Instead of Dr. Dre, he can be like Dr. C.
Dr. C. I like that.
Except you're actually a doctor. So
actually really.
Well, that's like last night. I don't know if you watch it or not, but Masked Singer, the guy who got unmasked was Dr. Elvis, and I was like, who the hell is Dr. Elvis? But then we did a little research, and it was this guy who came on during a COVID special, and he's a really good singer, but he was the Dr. Elvis. It was interesting. I don't know if y'all watched that or not. Obviously Ross doesn't because he's just sitting there looking at me.
I know of the show, but I don't know. I do this thing called a job, which often doesn't allow me just to watch unlimited amounts of TV with my life. And between that and having 6 kids, when I do come home and have the TV on, I have 5 TVs.
Paw Patrol.
5 TVs in my house. I promise you, none of them are tuned to something I want to watch. Okay.
Bubble Guppies. Paw
So
Patrol.
the 8-year-old is playing a Nintendo on one TV. The 6-year-old is playing Nintendo on another TV. The baby's watching. There's a show on Netflix called Coco Melon that she loves, and I mean that is war if that show's not on. So that'll be on one TV. The wife might be watching Newsmax or OAN in the kitchen on the little TV. But I've got a 65-inch in the living room. I don't watch. I've got a 55-inch in the bedroom. I don't watch. The kids have 44 inchers in their bedrooms. That's all what they want to watch.
Man.
And then we got a 32 in the kitchen, all of which I couldn't tell you what they're being watched on. We may, if at most, I may get to watch some Last Man Standing every now and then.
So my wife is watching, was watching Grey's Anatomy earlier. I don't know what she's watching right now.
Yeah, I just got Netflix. You know, I was telling you, Ross, yesterday about this particular wireless internet down here that doesn't work at my house. So
Starts with a Z.
I don't have.
Do we have some kin to them some way somehow?
We're we're married into them.
Yeah.
Oh well, that for some reason I'm 2 miles from them, and they said that they can't get service here because I'm down in a hole. I'm right there off the highway, and
Line of sight's big deal.
So they couldn't get it. So I just got. I got
make
the hot
things
spot.
that will go up in the air. I mean,
well, they said they would have had to put that 50-foot pole on another like 20-foot or something just to even get spotty reception. So I was like, nah. So I got the hot spot, and I just clicked, and that's what I got.
yeah,
And I don't watch it. I mean, I'm rewatching The Office right now.
So have you watched Letter? You watched Letter, Kenny, and let me know how it is.
Oh yeah. I've seen some of it.
I've been told by like 10, 15 people that I really need to watch that.
I've got a brother-in-law who loved it. I haven't seen it. It looks.
It's you know what it reminds me of, in a way. No, I guess not really. It's Canadian, right? So
yeah.
Do you remember the Red Green Show?
Yes.
It's like in a way it's.
How I know you grew up
really.
in Dimebag Saturday night, PBS 18.
Yeah.
Tell you what, that was a fun show to watch.
Yeah.
She might not find you handy, or she might not find you handsome, but at least she'll find you handy.
At least find you handy.
Yeah. Good times.
I showed a guy I work with. I work with some guys that are from France, and they didn't believe me. They're like, "This is bullshit. You're bullshitting me about what this show is." And I had to pull it up on YouTube about the
Red Green Show.
About the Red Green Show. You can watch clips of it on YouTube. And I pulled him up the what was it? The Cadillac backhoe.
I don't remember that.
He made a backhoe bucket to go on his Cadillac. He used the each window as one of the actuators. He used the moonroof as another actuator. Really? He used a ladder as the boom. Used an A-frame ladder as the boom. And it just, plethora of duct tape. And he put a little bucket on the end of it. He'd roll down the one window and it would extend it out. He'd roll down the other window. It'd dump the bucket. He'd move it, extend out the boom or bring it in. It was like, Jesus Christ, this shit's... And he just duct taped it to the hood of the car.
That was his biggest deal was duct tape.
Yeah.
Duct tape and baling wire, baby. You can't fix it with that. You can't fix it at all.
It don't need to be fixed. There's I like to say there's an old the engineer flowchart, Kyle. You ever seen the engineer? Eric, have you ever seen the engineer flowchart? So it's a does it move? Yes, no, right? And then below it, should it? Yes, no. And if it's does it move? Should it? Yes, no. Hammer. Okay.
Or WD-40.
Or WD-40. Well, that's the next thing. If it does it move now? Yes, no. WD-40. Hammer. On the other side, does it move? Yes. Should it? No. Duct tape. Does it still move? Yes. Baling wire. The engineer's flow chart. How we make decisions out here. So, no. I mean, let's ask this. So, I mean, we broached the subject, but we didn't really get too far into depth in it. Now we will call it here in just a minute because it is getting late, and I know the doctor's got to get his sleep. But what would you consider yourself politically? Would you consider yourself a conservative? Would you consider yourself more liberal? Would you say you were, are you more Hillary Clinton? Are you more Joe Biden? Are you more Mitt Romney? Or are you more Donald Trump?
Man. There's,
you put two moderate liberals up there, and then
I don't know.
They're mainstream liberals. Let's
I
put it that
think I'm a little bit honestly.
I know he's not. I know he's not a socialist. We can rule that out. I didn't need to go. I didn't need to go
way. Not
Bernie.
Bernie or an AOC.
No. I just there's a lot of stuff I don't agree with on that, but I think I'm a little bit of all of those. If that would give me any solace. I just there's some things that those certain people you mentioned that on certain levels I agree with, and there's some things on certain levels I don't agree with, and that's what's hard. You know, that was what was hard in this election. You know, to try to find what's gonna be the best choice to move this country forward. You know, and I don't know. I just it's a hard deal. You know, coming from the background I come from, and what I've seen today, and what I have today, and what I've been doing. You know, there's things in the Trump administration that helped me, but there's some beliefs of his that hadn't. You know what I mean? So that's just, I don't know. It's just a hard deal. It's a hard deal to know what you really are in this country. For me,
Yep.
I mean, some people they're this or they're that, you know. But me, I mean, there's a lot of others of us out here that are like, which way am I? Where am I at? Am I teetering left or right? You know.
Well, and I think for me, you know, the most important thing for me is that if you're voting your conscience, right? Because I think what we've gotten today is, oh my God, I was just scrolling through I don't use Facebook very much. You want to know who one of my suggested friends on Facebook just was, Eric? You want to talk a blast from the past, man? Doug Fonville.
Oh, he added me the other day.
Our high school Spanish teacher, who was his qualifications for being a Spanish teacher, he did speak Spanish, but that he was married to a Mexican lady. That was his biggest qualification.
You should add him.
I'm not. No.
Man, that sounds familiar. My Spanish teacher in high school was a white woman who married a Mexican guy.
So, I mean, just scrolling through.
She spoke good Spanish.
I mean, he spoke good Spanish. He was a good teacher.
You know what's funny about that you say that is because I talked to Casey. Well, probably Casey more than Carrie, but we were talking. He was over here a while back. Him and Melanie. His girlfriend Melanie Hyman, and they were over here the other day, and we were talking about that. It was like something about Farmville came up, and then like a day later, like I got a friend request from him. It was so weird.
Heard you Facebook heard you talking about it, man. Yeah, they heard me say Giddings High School, so now everybody who works at Giddings High School is going to be in my. I'll be honest, man. I got enough of it when I left to come out here because I got told, you know, hey, look, you're an idiot for going out there. You know, you're not going to make it. You can't do it. And it was funny because, you know, I had a master's degree from Syracuse University. And it's like, guys, I mean, I'm not some random freaking idiot, right? Like, I stand a chance of going out there and being quite successful, and I have been. But at the same time, man, I just had people like, oh, you know, you're nothing without this city. And it was like,
well,
you know,
it's so I don't. You can't look at it like that. I mean, for me, I mean, yes, like I said, like now, like I'm loving what I'm doing now, being back home, working in this area in this community, but it's not for everybody, you know. I just see myself and have a part of me here, like man, I just kind of, in a sense, not necessarily owe it to this community, but like I just kind of I fit here right now. Well, from what I see, I fit here now. Yes, did I go off and even do other things and different things at one time? Yeah, but that helped me get back to here to do what I want to do in this area.
So for me, it was just the fact that, you know, even with my education, the opportunities that were there just weren't opportunities that were that interesting to me. You know, and they were opportunities that weren't going to progress me forward. They were opportunities that were going to keep me where I was. And, it was one of those things where I went to, and this is the God honest truth. I was working, and I went to a job fair in Austin for veterans because I served in the National Guard. That's why I'm wearing the Army shirt. And I went to a job fair there, and there was a lady there with a Schlumberger booth, and God damn it, I did it. And that'll be edited out here real quick. They talked to me, and I'd worked in the oil field, and they kind of him and hawed, and I kind of went, I said, oh man, that's interesting, and the first question was, will you move? That literally, you couldn't that was the first question they asked when you got to the booth is, will you move? If the answer was no, go away, because they weren't hiring for here, they were hiring for there, and I was, hey, I'll entertain moving, and then. When I sat down and I actually started talking to them about my experience and my background and my education, and we actually started getting to what my job would be if I was to come work for them, when they started talking about salaries, it was like, what? Jesus, that's unheard of from here, and I was working, and I remember, working at the oil field job there in Giddings, and I was making about $14.50 an hour. And a guy was driving a truck came by and he was delivering some stuff. He said, yeah, you guys in the oil field, y'all make a ton of money. And I was like, it depends on where you live. Mm-hmm. So,
I agree.
And it's, it's not that I won't ever return, but the fact is that.
Well, you have to do what's best for you and for your family in that situation. And nobody can sit there and tell you that, you should do this or do that. You have to do what's best for you. And I've had those situations where when I left this town back in 2 years ago when I went back to Odessa, there's people that told me, just were kind of upset that I was leaving. There's one guy in particular, I'm not going to name his name, but he was upset that I left him.
Give him 5 minutes, he'll say
it. And what I saw was, yes, he was upset because it's like, well, I was established here and I was, building some stuff up with that particular clinic and, everything was going good. But at the time, I had to do what was best for me.
Yeah.
What's that?
We know who it is.
I know.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, but I had to do what was best for me, and I'll tell you, when I left Odessa the first time, and I keep going back and saying when I left here and I left there, it seems like I bounced around a lot, but when I had worked for Dr. Lyde, is his name, there in Odessa, he was a great mentor to me. I mean, kind of a father figure type person. I mean, do anything for you, give you a shirt off his back type of guy. And I told him, hey, man, I have an opportunity to go back home. And he told me, he said, look, he said, I hate to see you go. He said, I'd love to have you stay and continue to work for me. And he's one of those guys that you didn't feel like you worked for him, but you kind of worked with him. He was your boss, but he had that type of feel about him. But he told me, he said, hey, man, I know, this is, if you want to go back home, that's fine. He said, you got to do what's best for you. And if anybody tells you that, they think that you don't need to do what's best for you because it's in their best interest, then F them, basically, is my thoughts. I mean, I really do, because when you have somebody that – because I have people – like I've had techs in the past before that, they're like really, really good technicians, but they can go on and do something better to better themselves, to better their careers, just for the betterment of their family. I'm not going to sit there and hold them back just because I'm selfish and sensible. Yeah, I need a really good tech. You've been a really good tech, but you have something that's twice as better in front of you. Go get it. Go do it.
Well, that's
my thought.
I've got guys that work for me out here that have come up and said, hey, I've got this or that, and I tell them, look, I'm never going to be upset at you. I had guys in the Army when I was a sergeant in the Army. Guys who tell me, I got this or that. It's like, I'm never going to be upset at you for doing something that's going to better your life. That's going,
exactly.
If you feel it's in your best interest, if you feel it's going to make your life better, I'm not upset, because I would do the same thing, right? And, my whole political mantra, and this, I can sum up everything I believe politically in this one statement, which goes back to the golden rule. I'll leave you alone if you'll leave me alone. Let me make my choices, and I'll let you make yours. That's all I want in life, is I want to be allowed to do what I think's best for me, and you do what's best for you. And and sometimes it's people who care about you, and they want to see things and they think you're doing something wrong. But, again, if you care about somebody, you got to give them an opportunity to blossom. You got to give them that opportunity to do what they can do for themselves. But also at the same time is, it's one of those things where in the industry I work in that town, there just wasn't any higher level jobs for me. Every job I applied for is, you need 10 years experience, already haven't had this job. And it's like, well, chicken and egg, right? I can't get experience because I can't get the job.
Exactly.
So I can't ever get the experience because I can't ever get the job, and I can't ever get the job, so I can't ever get the experience. So I'm just never going to get this job, and I'm going to be stuck. And the guys who are in those jobs, they're going to be there for 30, 40 years. They're going to die in those jobs. So you're just sitting there going, well, shit. And as soon as, they leave, then they're just going to have somebody from outside come in and take that job. And I looked at my dad and I said, I think I've come up with it. I think you can either have a good job in a shitty place or have a shitty job in a good place. I said, because if you live somewhere where everybody wants to live, it's going to be super competitive to find a job. And if you live somewhere where nobody wants to live, it's less competitive to find a good job.
Yeah.
Just the simple nature of supply and demand.
No, I agree. I totally agree.
But I mean, Eric, we peppered you with a bunch of questions, but we like to say, okay, at this point, we like to open it up to you and say, do you have any questions for us? Do you have anything that you want to ask of us? Two knuckleheads.
So tell me about how y'all got started with what y'all are doing here. This is really cool. I listen to some podcasts and stuff and, different shows, and I feel like, oh man, I'm gonna be on a show tonight, that's pretty cool.
Well,
so how'd y'all get started with this?
So the basic story goes is that one of Kyle's friends from the Corps, when Kyle was in the Corps Cadets at Texas A&M, he has a podcast and called Hardly Strictly Politics, which is we're fairly political, but we'll get more into sports. We'll talk a lot about sports. We'll talk about politics, but we're not super political with our show. It's not derivatively political. We're not specifically political. Whereas their show is specifically political. Well, when I ran for Congress, he wanted to interview me. And so I did an interview series with him where we went over economic theory and policy and conservatism and the things that I believe and why I believe it. And it was good for my campaign because it allowed me to send this out to people and let them listen to me, long-form interviews, talk about what I believe in. Because I was a young kid, 30 years old in terms of running for Congress. That's very young. And so, it gave me a lot. But when I ended my campaign, he reached out to me and said, hey, I really liked having that conversation with you. You're definitely a guy who can talk a lot. I've always been accused of being real shy.
Has that ever been in question?
Hey.
I asked you yesterday. You asked me what you want to talk about, and I was like, I don't know. He was like, well, you better figure out something. If I start talking, that's what it's all gonna be about. Is what I'm talking about.
I told him. I said, if you don't speak up, you just ain't gonna talk. You won't even be on the show at that point.
Like I'm feeling right now.
Hey, nobody wants to hear from you. You're here for comedic relief with bad geography.
Kyle's looking a little sad, a little left out. I'm sorry, man.
He's here for bad geography, comedic relief.
There you tell you what.
Kyle can tell you where shit isn't in a real hurry.
Mess up one time, you never hear the end of it.
So we were.
Tell me, Milwaukee, Minnesota doesn't sound right.
Okay.
Just saying.
You got to go back to one of our early episodes, Eric. I got a liberal buddy, and we were talking about there was some Bernie. He's kind of a Bernie guy. He's honestly more on the socialist spectrum, and he's a friend of mine. We talk a lot of crap on Twitter with each other, but we like each other generally in person. We just don't agree politically. And, when they were having the wildfires, I invited him to come stay with us. I was like, hey, man, if you need a place to stay, get to Texas. I'll put you up. I'll make sure you're taken care of. And we started talking about, there were some Bernie people who had said that they were going to burn down Milwaukee, which is where the Democratic National Convention was supposed to be held this year, if Bernie Sanders didn't win. And we started talking about it, and Kyle goes, yeah, I don't know why they'd want to put that in Minnesota. And I was like, Minnesota? Milwaukee's not in Minnesota. Yes, it is. I was like, no, Milwaukee's in freaking Wisconsin. And he goes, oh, yeah, maybe you're right. And then about 10 minutes later, we're talking about something completely unrelated. And Kyle just goes, Milwaukee is too in Minnesota. And I was like, no, it's not. Like, I thought we established this.
It's like Paris, Texas, right?
Yeah. And he's just like, there's Milwaukee in Minnesota. I was like, no, it is in Wisconsin. The Milwaukee Bucks are in Wisconsin. And
no, I brought up a different town entirely. Because in my head, I was talking about a different town that is actually in. Yeah, I was talking about Minneapolis. I don't know why.
Oh!
I got the two
Well,
confused.
that's yeah. No, you're good.
So Minneapolis is firmly
But
in
I'm never
Minnesota.
getting into this shit.
But you will never live this down. There are many things you will not live down. This is one of them. There's an incident with a tree that you won't live down. We won't mention that. That's not public. That's not fun for public. But it's hilarious.
A tree?
There's two incidents with a tree. There's one where he beheaded himself.
Which one?
And then there's one where he almost took off a different head.
Oh gosh.
Horseshoe tank.
Oh yeah. I was thinking about the time I almost hung myself out in front of Grant's house.
That was funny too.
Oh,
Our cousin runs in,
gosh.
he hung himself. He had gotten a rope under his arm. So he wasn't choking him, but yeah, he was hanging out of the tree like this.
Just
He
it's like
we were putting the pigs in a trailer one time, and he forgot he had gotten taller, and he had we shot, so he had all those pins in his cap, and he was walking out of the trailer, and all you hear is wom 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 wom, and he damn near gave himself a concussion.
Oh, I gave myself a concussion.
He was chasing us through our grandma's backyard. She has an oak tree that does one of those, comes up, then goes flat out, and then goes back up.
Oh yeah.
And boy, he's just running full blast. Right into.
It was dark.
Oh.
I mean, he damn near beheaded himself. I think he was out cold for a good minute. Dad, if you're still watching, you can get in the comments there and tell us whether he was out cold for a good minute. But that was a spectacular. And then when he almost got me arrested.
Which time?
Well, the time
How?
in front of Lincoln School.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our first dummy attempt.
Your first dummy attempt. I was just going along with the plan, you idiot. So you know they cross-thread the bolts when they put a sign on a pole, right? You can't unscrew the pine from the pole. You can only cut the bolt off. So Kyle's out there with a wrench just turning the thing in
I didn't know
circles.
that either.
Right in front of the school.
Like, all of a sudden, like 15 people showed up and started chasing us. I was just like, it's a sign, what does it matter? But I got out of that situation.
You
but
got out of it.
was,
I got in trouble the next day at school.
I didn't.
Yeah, Jack.
So it was a dire situation for about.
There was something else at school. Remember?
Well, yeah.
That involved your brother.
No, I blamed it on him. No, I was trying to get out of it.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, I scapegoated.
For the longest.
I was trying to scapegoat.
Oh, dude, for the longest, I thought it was like that was Kyle's fault.
No, that was.
But evidently it wasn't.
Well,
you knew the whole. Oh man,
he may have bought it.
That's what I'm telling you.
I played the good brother and claimed I did it, but I didn't actually have anything to do with it.
Oh
No,
yeah. He looked at me. You looked at me that day, and you were like, "I think such and such and such and such."
Oh, I played it off.
And then like 15 minutes later, here they come, and it was like never saw. And actually, that's what I'm talking about. That's the last time I saw you.
Yeah, I spent the last 45 days of my high school career in a bad kid zone, wearing a gray T-shirt with gray shoelaces and gray socks. And
That was
Ross,
so
you didn't
crazy,
go to the
man.
graduation?
I did go to the graduation, and I'm fairly certain I saw Eric there. But hey, that was 13 years ago.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
the greatest part of that story, which has been left untold, is that the certain person who was, I went over to his house that night, and we drank those beers together.
I thought it was a whole case.
It was
back there.
it was an entire case of Miller Genuine Draft bottles, whole 12-pack. And I was so close because I had shotgun shell primers in my truck for cap guns.
Yeah.
And we found that, and the guy, the trainer, the dog trainer, because I was talking to him about training dogs, trying to distract him, and he was like, "Oh, that's what the dog keyed on," and he was closing up the doors, and it was Vice Principal Coach Rude, who goes, "Oh, well, let's lift the back seat up," and he lifted that back seat up, and I was just like, "Son of a bitch." Because all the beer was in glass bottles sealed, so there's no way the dog smelled it inside of the glass bottle.
Yeah, yeah.
But they were there, and so
Rude just knew because he was rude. You know, he was. He's principal now, right?
Yeah. I went back, after Mossick became the superintendent. But no, I mean that was, that wasn't a prouder moment of my life. But
I hate to bring it up, but I thought it was funny. That's why I was remember. I'm like, oh,
I remember
you looked over. I'll never forget because we sat there in that back left corner, and they're like, the dogs are here today. And you looked over at me. You were like,
shit.
Uh-oh.
I was like, shit. And when they called us both out, and I was like, yeah, this ain't gonna be good.
Yeah, I think I had some shells and like some, not even like, they were like just empty shells. I think.
Yeah, when they called me out, I was like, this is not good. This is gonna be bad. And I was trying. I was doing because I train dogs, so I was well aware that the dog could not smell that inside the glass bottle. I knew that for a fact. I was like, okay, and so when they pulled out the shotgun shell primers, I was like, oh, that's what the dog smelled. That's what actually keyed the dog. And so I was trying to play it off with the trainer. I was like, yeah, and the trainer even was going along with it. And then Rude at the end, he was like, nope. And I was like, son of a bitch. And so got to go get wanded into school every day while wearing gray shirt with gray shoes, with gray socks, with gray shoelaces, and blue jean pants. And for 10 minutes a day, we got to go outside and walk in a circle. And literally single file line, walk in a circle.
Some of that stuff was ridiculous on how some of the things that.
Oh, I agree. I did it for 45 days.
There was somebody else that went for some bullshit too.
It was me and Chad.
Well, no, but there was another guy in our class, and it was his dad had a.
The machete story.
Yeah, that was pretty ridiculous too.
Yeah, he had a better scapegoat than I had. I was pretty much just sticking to my story at that point, but yeah, I was pretty boned on that one. But life goes on, and it was one of those funny things that now looking back at it, it's like, oh, who cares?
You look back on it, you laugh. Yeah, I have moments like that. I've had moments like that here recently. Like, that's not funny right now, but 13 years, 15 years from now, it'll be funny.
Yeah. There was a time where the big, tall, hairy French guy, I almost killed him about 4 times. And
is he really French, or you just say that because of his last name?
Well, I mean, his French heritage, right? He
did. Okay.
And he played the French sax or the French horn in band.
French horn.
And so it was just like, you're French. You're full on French, dude. You're full on Pepe Le Pew. And now that I work with actual people from France, it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I actually see how people from France are. It's not anywhere close to the same, but of course, it's high school. You make fun of people. And it was funny. So I've thrown him off the hood of my truck while driving into a ditch, and that almost killed him. I almost killed him swimming because he went face first off. You remember we had that hole in the creek that we used to have them rope swings. He went face first into the mud right off the bank because he let go of the rope too fast. I thought he was dead.
Gosh.
I mean, his legs are, because he's so tall, his legs are just sticking out of the water going like this while his head's stuck in the mud. And I was like, oh, he's dead. We killed him. I got to explain this to his mom now. And then we were in Brenham. He was in, he was going to Blinn and Brenham. I was going to Blinn and Bryan. And he was in the back of my truck for some reason. And there's that hill in Brenham over there by Bluebell where there's a railroad track.
Yeah.
And you go down the hill and then you go right over it. And I hit that in that blue Dodge of mine, 70, 80, 90 miles an hour.
Oh.
And when I looked in the mirror, he was out over the top of the bed with my spare tire because he was sitting on my spare tire. and they came down. It was him and another boy. They came down on the tailgate and fell back in. It was one of those, like, you got a bottle, the basketball sitting on the rim, and you're not sure which way it's going to go.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there
shoot.
And he fell back in, and I was like, oh I didn't know that was going to be so bad. He got up, he's pounding on the roof of my truck like, you son of a bitch, don't you ever do that again. And I was like, I almost killed him.
Oh,
so,
man.
yeah, I'm pretty sure if his mom knew those stories, she wouldn't be so excited about it.
And maybe now she'll know.
So, no, I mean,
but
anyway,
I got a baby fussing pretty loud in the background.
Oh, I was gonna tell you, Kyle. You just had a little one, right?
We both
I did, and so did Ross.
Congrats! Oh, both of y'all.
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
okay,
Because I was talking with your dad a couple weeks ago, and he said, I think it was who just had the one most recently.
me.
Ross had one like a week after I did, or a week and a half.
Oh, okay. Well, congrats to both of y'all.
Yeah. So I'm definitely the most fertile son in the family. That's definitively proven.
You just got an earlier start than I did.
I mean, you're 3 years older than me, so you can't can't blame me for that.
Got going a lot earlier than I did.
So, how many kids do you have, Kyle?
The one.
Oh, okay.
So
And Ross, you got them beat by 5, right?
I got I'm plus a basketball team at the moment.
He's got a basketball team on me right now.
I'm plus a basketball
Probably
team
for a while.
Yeah. So yeah, we got a house here. We got 6 of them in here. We're just putting them wherever they can find spots at this point. Just sleep on the floor over there. Sleep on the floor. Not really. They all have beds. But no, I mean, I'm not certain because I know.
Come investigate tomorrow.
That's fine. Let them come. At one point in time, I thought I'd seen that you were married. Are you married, Eric?
Who? Me?
Yeah. Are you married?
No.
No. Okay. You had at least a steady girlfriend or a fiance at one point.
No. Well, yeah, in undergrad. I did for a while, but no,
So I've
had.
Who's the little girl with you in the picture there on Facebook? Is that niece?
Oh, that's my niece.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my niece.
All right.
Yeah, that's not my kid.
You're not taking responsibility for that.
I'm still a bachelor, man. I'm just kind of trying to, just do my own deal.
I can see the picture of the big dually truck with the trailer and the skid steer, so I can see where your money's going.
Yeah. That's where a lot of it goes. So, but no, I'm that right one. It's funny. Like when I was 29, everybody's like, oh, you'll find, you got plenty of time. Like just, you'll find one. And then I turned 30, and they're like, oh man, you better hurry up and try to find somebody.
Ain't that crazy how that works?
Yeah. But no, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
That right one will come along eventually.
So I was married at 22. I had my first kid at 22. And 31 now, got 6. Still, and what's funny is, people are like, they look at my wife and they're like, all of these kids are with the same dad? It's like, yeah, funny how that works. It's funny how when you're.
So you have from an 8-year-old to
a 1 month old.
Wow.
So I've got an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a newborn.
Oh wow.
So we got our girls. We got 4 girls.
It was like like popcorn in a microwave where it starts popping like pop.
It's slow at first, and all of a sudden it speeds up again. Well, hey, I always look at it this way. I was not very wealthy when I was young, so I had my kids early because I wasn't going to travel or do nothing when I was young, other than the travel I've done for work and school. I mean, I've been all over.
You say early, you're still having them though.
Well, but it's still Hey, you had one. You got no room to talk. I'm still gonna have all mine out of the house before you'll have yours out of the house.
That's true. You got me on
Even
that
if
one.
you start it tomorrow, you're got 9 months from now. That means you gonna be 50 before yours is all out of your first one's out of the house.
Right?
I'll be 39 when my first one's out of the house. 40 when my first one's out of the house. So, and I make considerably more money now, and yourself as well, than I made when I was 21.
Yeah, that goes a long way.
So,
well, what I mean, I can't put myself in your shoes as far as having a family of my own, but I've made the money and seen it come and go, and money's not everything. It's the family life that's the important thing, and I can see from both of y'all that's a big thing. So I think that the money is good, but to have that home and that good life, that's more.
So, I was telling my boss that the other day because we were having some contentious moments, and it was like, hey, I want you to remember something. I worked a job to support the family, not the other way around. The family is number one. The job is number two. So I'm sorry to say it this way. I'm well educated, have great certifications. I just basically told him I'll have another job before I hit the end of the street. So don't get it messed up that I'm here and I ain't got nowhere else to go, and that this is that I'm gonna dedicate my life to this and not think about my family. So part of that was like my son is playing little league football this year, and it's his first year. And they're playing for the championship on Saturday. And they're like, well, we might. And I was like, nope. I'm going to the game, guys. I'll do whatever you need. If you want me to go out the night before, you want me to go out the night after, fine. But I ain't doing a jack thing on that. Between this hour and that hour, I'm going to that game. That's number one.
Yeah.
Because we grew up, and I think you did too, with family that, that was what it was. It was family. It was, when you were with family, you were with family. Whether you were working, whether like for us, picking pecans, working cows, baling hay.
You made it a family. Even if you were working, you made it a family affair.
Yeah, you were with family. We'd go over to Grandma Rocco's house and we'd pick corn, and by golly, you were going to eat corn that night. That was what was going to be for dinner, Kyle. I mean, that was. We'd go pick it and then eat it. And then you'd eat corn
maybe for the next week or two.
Yeah, you'd eat corn for a while. So all the corn that wasn't good enough to be sold or wasn't good enough to go in the freezer would go into your belly as quick as possible. But, I tell people, because people are, we had our grandpa on our mom's side. If you shot a deer and you did not invite him to come help you clean it, it was a personal insult to him. That was like the worst thing you could have done was not invite him to come help clean your deer. I mean, that was just his thing. That was the thing he enjoyed doing, and that was one of those family moments. It's like now, even though I live in a city, my kids are doing things that I never did as a kid. They're playing in cul-de-sacs, and for us, Kyle and I used to play. We used to limit ourselves to 40 acres for hide and seek.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, we'd never end.
Exactly.
The hide and seek games,
especially once we start getting into like camouflage and playing at dark and shit like that. Because literally, you'd almost have to have a thermal.
Who was it that was wearing the white shoes that one time and kept giving himself away because he was wearing white shoes? Was that you or was that Ethan?
I think it was Ethan because I don't remember ever being that dumb.
So somebody was, we'd go dress in all black. And we'd go run out in the place, and we'd go find a tree to hide under or climb up in a tree or something, and we'd play hide and seek. And it was one of those things where one round could last you an hour. Where
I remember getting stepped on a couple times and not being caught.
Dad got himself in a pile of leaves one time, and we looked for him for 30, 40 minutes. I mean,
there was a time that I hid in the closet underneath some clothes and literally had our babysitter call the cops because they couldn't find me.
What?
Yeah.
Was that me and you or me?
That was me and you.
Me and Ethan.
That was me and you.
Yeah, it was either me and you or me and Ethan. Yeah, Casey Mitchke, she looked for us for a good hour and couldn't find us. And we were just sitting there snickering, and I can't believe she didn't hear us.
We just went in the closet, got underneath some clothes, and laid real still for a while. I went under the bed one time because I didn't want to go to school. I went and locked myself in a pump house one time because I didn't want to go to school. That was the best one. I was able to get in and lock the door from the outside so that nobody, like, the door wasn't swinging open, because if it was swinging open, people would have known that something was amiss, right? So they would have locked the door. I was just sitting in there, and everybody, where the fuck did he go? And then eventually everybody just went. They were like, oh, fuck it, we got to take the other ones to school. And I was like, I win. But, yeah, I mean, now it's, my kids have it a lot different than what we ever had. They've got high-speed internet. They've got, Walmart's 10 minutes, 2 minutes away.
Well, it's crazy. You say that. It's like, you talk about, like, you hear, like I hear my parents and your parents and grandparents stuff talk about the good old days, or whatever. And like that, like we look back and it's like, well, shit, that was, 20, 25 years ago. And those are days that, it's not, they're almost gone. Those type of days, we won't see stuff like that much anymore. Because this world is changing so rapidly. So I don't know. It's just a ever evolving thing.
Yeah, I think, and I think, of course, we're always going to look back fondly on the things that, when we were kids, because it was simpler times for us, and all we were worried about was having fun and goofing off and screwing around. And I think for my kids, they'll look back on the times living in this house, and they'll think about it too, of, that was fun times that we lived on that cul-de-sac and we could go out and do this, that, and whatever, and it's like now, back when we were kids, decorating for Christmas that was something we were going to see. Nobody else was going to see that. That was just one of those things where you were doing that for your own benefit. You weren't doing that for nobody else's. Here, it's like, oh, well, shit, everybody's decorating, and, hey, you got to be part of the neighborhood and things of that nature. And, and it's interesting to see the difference, but the thing that can be the same is that they have a family. They have a mom and a dad that love them and take care of them and put them first and work for them, and I think that's, when we look at the things that separate us, whether it be skin color, whether it be religion, whether it be whatever else, I always thought that, in our small little community, we did a good job of finding the similarities instead of looking for the differences. It wasn't what made us different that we worried about. It was where we got along. There were kids in school that liked the same type of music I liked, and so we were friends because we liked the same type of music. There were kids that, we drove Dodges. We were in the Clemons Club, right? That was a thing at our school. Yeah. That was a legitimate thing, was to drive your Clemons and park it in that line and be one of those kids that was in that Dodge Clemons Club. And, there was just all these little groups, but it wasn't about what was different about us. It was about what made us the same. And I remember, kids that grew up very similar to me that weren't really my friends in high school just because, we were real similar, but, there was a lot of these little nicky-nacky interests that we didn't really enjoy together. Whether it be music, whether it be, certain things. And, there were some kids who were up to no good. They were making trouble in the neighborhood. And I didn't want to get in one little fight so my mama wouldn't get scared. And, I didn't really want to move to Bel Air.
Wow.
Shoehorn the shit out of that.
Didn't you?
But it just was one of those things where I think if a lot of people would do that, I remember there were some kids that were coming around from different schools, because of girlfriends and here and there, and some of the kids having girlfriends from these different schools, and these other kids were coming around, and I think to them it was a little more surprising, but at the same time, the kids that were in that school had known each other since they were born. You and me knew each other from basically day one. We were on the same teams together. We were doing the same stuff together. We were in 4-H together. We were in, it was one of those things where everywhere you went, it was going to be these group of people. So you better find shit to like about each other. Otherwise, it's going to be a miserable effing life. Because the pool of people you have to associate with is so small, there's just no other option. Like now, I think about it now, like my son is 5 years old. In this town alone, there's 10 teams of football teams in his league. There's 5 other leagues that all have 10 teams of kids his age. And it's like, we were happy to get one team. We were happy to get enough kids to play that we could play one team. And we
Yeah.
were playing, we were driving to wherever to go play a team from here, there, wherever. And these kids, they got enough my son has enough to other teams that are in other leagues that they have scrimmaged 5 teams not in their league this year. And it's like,
Really?
Jesus, there's that many kids. And it's just, it's different. It's kind of one of these things where it's like, again, it's good that he's got these friends that are on his team. But at the same time, he's not really building relationships with these other kids, and he's going to be able to be more picky and choosy on who he associates with. He's not going to have that sense of, well, shit, I don't really give a shit what you look like because at least you're somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I might have to drop, so y'all have fun if y'all want to keep going. But
Well, we'll get ready to let the doctor go to sleep. But Eric, I want to thank you for coming on with us and sharing a little bit about
I
your
want to thank
story.
both of y'all. I appreciate it. This is fun.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got to catch up, and I love that.
Maybe if we do it again, you can get your camera working.
Yeah. I'll have to get.
It'd be nice to see you again.
I know, man. I'm not too good on the technical stuff, so it's like kind of a last minute deal. It's like, well, if I can get on with the browser, then we'll just do it that way. So, but no, I really appreciate y'all getting me on, and it's really cool what y'all are doing, and just keep it up. It's good to see this, what y'all have going. So.
Yeah, we do it because it's a lot of fun for us, and it's something where as brothers, it gives us that opportunity to talk shit to each other and
I'm not drinking alone.
Exactly.
I'm on the phone
gives
with
us
my
that opportunity to bullshit with each other a little bit and make fun of people. And it's been interesting. We've had guests like you who are, just friends of ours, things like that. We've also had Scott Pressler, who's got almost 1 million Twitter followers. We've had, we've had a couple major politicians come on the show. So it's been
Dave South.
Dave South. You know that
Really?
name.
Yeah.
We were his first ever podcast.
Really?
And we did it. We did an election night special, and we had Trey Felder,
Ooh, that was a long night.
of the Wright brothers. We had Topher, who's a conservative rapper. We had Patriot J, who's a conservative rapper and also was a congressional aide. And we had Jeff on the right, who's a media guy, who's all 4 prominent black conservatives. And it was the first time they had ever talked to each other. And it was on.
Really?
It was like, well, how the fuck did we do that? But we've had them all on the show. We're friends with all of them, and so they just happened to all be on. And it was, oh, hey.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
So, well, guys, thank you so much for listening to us. You, of course, everybody, that you can follow Kyle and I on Twitter. We are down there below. Our Twitter links are there on the page for you. You like the Facebook
Ross hit
page?
a milestone.
What?
Ross hit a milestone.
Oh yeah, I'm 1,500 followers now.
Woohoo!
So Eric, do you know what being Twitter verified means?
No, I don't. I don't even have a Twitter.
So
I don't, what is that?
I got one of them little blue check marks by my name on Twitter that means I'm special.
Oh, cool.
It means I'm more important than everybody else. That my ideas are more valid than anybody else's. No, they just gave it to me because I was running for Congress, and if you're running for Congress, then you get it automatically. But it's for like celebrities and shit. That it tells people that this is actually the person that they say they're going to be. Because remember on MySpace, people were just making up all these fake accounts, and nobody ever knew who the real one was. And so Twitter they give you a little blue check mark if you are who you actually say you are.
Oh, if
it wasn't,
makes it legitimate.
Yeah, exactly. So I was very close to being the lowest followers ever to be given one of those. But now I've gained quite a bit of following, and I've got some major people who I talk with on a regular basis there. And of course, then I do work with some politicians, so I do some stuff there that I write policy for them and talk with them and get on conference calls and other things. But guys,
Wait.
Go ahead. What's that, Eric?
Oh no! I was just saying. I said that's sweet. That's a sweet deal.
Yeah, it's been interesting, man. The last year has been real interesting for me. It's been one of those. It was about this time last year that I decided to run, and in about 2 weeks.
It was about this time last year that you dropped out.
And it'll be about 2 weeks from now. Will be when I decided to drop out. But it was still fun while it lasted. The wife and I had a good time. We met a lot of people, and part of meeting a lot of people is that I got to speak to a lot of different politicians from around the area who were calling me, wanting to know who I was and the fuck I was doing. And, that led to some interesting conversations and some interesting relationships. And, I've been able to write a couple bills that have made their way to Congress, haven't made it to the floor yet, but are working their way through. And hopefully after we had one that was...
In your defense, the Texas legislature hasn't convened.
Well,
since
I've got two that are currently sitting in the U.S. House. So I've got two bills sitting there. One is a health care bill, which has about 0% chances of getting passed. But another one has a reasonable shot at getting passed. But we'll see what happens. It was supposed to be on the second COVID relief bill, and it got attached as an amendment, but then got removed. So it didn't actually get pushed through. But other than that, guys, I mean, do subscribe. First episode on Twitch, Kyle. I mean, were you over on Twitch? Did you?
I don't see any. I think we got up to like 2 people watching over there, but I mean, you gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, hey, so if you guys haven't gotten a chance, like our Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube. Whatever it is on Twitch, follow, I guess. I don't know.
Follower, yeah.
Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, follow us wherever, like the page, subscribe, do whatever. Guys, we're always happy for, hey, you want to troll on Twitter? We will troll on Twitter. I'm perfectly happy to troll on Twitter. So come, as Jesus said, bring them unto me. So You know what Jesus?
Come at me, bro.
Yeah, you know what Jesus said to the little children? Come at me, bro. My brother-in-law has a shirt I bought him that says that. It's pretty damn funny.
Oh, man.
My new favorite shirt says 45 ACP for when short, fat, and slow will get the job done. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure, guys.
Thank you, Eric, for joining with us. Thank you for everybody who's paid attention and listened to us. Thank you, everybody. We bless you all. Have a great night.
Thanks and gig 'em.
Take care.
God bless.
I just keep calling on the help of my peers, but their success makes me distressed. Things will be better when I disappear, bouncing from city to state. Nothing feels great, I'm a committed disgrace. If I could get up, hold my chin up, confidence is just a bluff for the weak. Might take a peek in my self-pity to real